one of my first assemblies when I first became a principal, I said, I love your children. I also am recognizing they're the future. Whitney Houston sings it. But I do recognize that all children lie. Some lie better than others. Some lie more than others. And if you believe half of what they tell you when they go home, I'll believe half of what they tell us about your home and our school.
Welcome to The Lisa Show, where we take a good look at life. Hey, it's Lisa. I just finished picking out the recipe for our next newsletter. Now listen, this is my best stuff. If you're not subscribed, you can find that in our show notes or on Instagram. We need to nourish ourselves, so you need a new recipe. Okay, also, since you're already listening to the show, you know the answers to the secret question giveaway, so you could be winning free stuff. Again, in the newsletter. Okay, let's dive in. If you have kids in school, you know that this can be a tough time of year. They're tired, the novelty of new classes and activities is worn off, we're almost out of holidays and breaks to look forward to, and now it feels like an endurance sprint or slog till summer. Now, there's a lot of ways for kids to struggle in school, whether it's a particular subject or not being challenged enough or other things at play, like big life events or learning disabilities. When my kids were in school, I got some of each of those things. And sometimes it was really hard to know how much or when to intervene. And that's coming from a former teacher. So today, I've got the perfect person here to address several ways kids struggle in school and tools that will help you get them back on track. Let me introduce you to Michelle Loveday, someone I've admired for a very long time. Her accomplishments include getting rid of homework as a school principal and giving a groundbreaking TED Talk on educational reform. She knows the system inside and out and has all the empathy in the world for parents trying to help their kids get a great education.
Hi, I'm Michelle Loveday. I'm an educator of 23 years, a mom of 5. I started off as a first and second grade teacher. I love the babies, and I got my master's in reading right after. And I taught, I was a literacy coach, which was great after leaving the classroom. And then I just saw a need even more for students. And so I became a principal, and then I was director of educational equity. And now I'm director of language and culture services, but I also have a nonprofit and run my own consulting company. I've changed careers 3 times, but it's stayed in education. And it's been a blessing because not too many people can have the insight, being in the classroom for 10 years and then moving into the administration and the resources that I can provide the community and information. I just feel like I can't hold on to it. I have to share it so people can, navigate this education space with their children and help them be successful.
And one of Michelle's big tips for helping kids succeed is all about community. A lot of parents feel alone in managing their children's education. There's more types of school now. There's more options. It's overwhelming. And Michelle pointed out that wherever you're starting from, it's possible to build a community around your child that helps ensure that their educational needs are met. You don't have to do this alone.
Whatever you've chosen, whatever path you've chosen for your child, it's important to surround your child with a variety of people that can offer those services. I am an educator, right? And I'm a mom. There is no way, that I could give them all that they need. I touched math for a little bit. And like I said, I got the master's in reading. And so when I see that my daughter is, having some issues in math or my son is having some things, I pick up the phone and call my neighbor. Hey, didn't you say you like chemistry? And I think parents, when they want to have what is best for their child, is to reach out and ask those questions and be okay with not knowing it all.
First of all, I have to jump in and say that I relate to this on a personal level. All 5 of my kids struggled with math. And if you have ever tried to help your child with math homework, you know that math has changed. I don't know how it works. The answers are the same, but the methods I learned in school are apparently obsolete, and trying to learn a new way of doing math while you're trying to teach your kids, who are already kicking the leg of the table, not fun. This is where building a community makes all the difference. Not just reaching out to your community, but creating one, and seeking out people and resources who can fill the gaps.
Tutoring is expensive.
Yeah.
Right. And that is the first option that people can try to go to. And then they see the price. But you're paying for an expert in that area. So there are scholarships available. I know our local church sometimes partners up with different grants and they have opportunities. And so you can call around and ask for that. That is my first piece because you can tried and true. They've been certified. But if that doesn't happen, especially in math, Khan Academy and no plug, I don't get anything from it, but he does have these, first free videos that can kind of help do that. And then at the end of the day, literally, you just call the teacher and say, hey, what day can you come in early to just help my child a little bit more? And if they have that good relationship, because a lot of times it could be, they're people too. So maybe it's just how the teacher's teaching the math, but reach out to the school and say, is there somebody that can come or stay late to help my kid? And don't stop getting to know your neighbors. Somebody in that apartment complex, somebody in the neighborhood randomly has a skill that you didn't know. And then you can trade. Oh, you do math? I can babysit your 2-year-old. Try to do something like that. Just don't stop asking for the help. And then don't stop asking your child where they're struggling because they don't want to say anything.
No, they
either.
don't.
They don't want to tell you that they're struggling.
When it's a problem.
Yes. And so go to parent-teacher conferences. And if you can't make the parent-teacher conferences, schedule again. But check in.
I love that, and creating that kind of community too, where you're helping each other for like trade. That was particularly useful to me when I had a lot of children.
Yes.
Not a lot of money.
Yes.
And wanting them to succeed, and we would trade, and I would, in the summers teach art classes, and a friend would teach, a different subject.
And there's an app, a math app that will scan the problem on the page, and then it'll show you how to do the problem. And then it'll give you the answer. Now, to kind of quote unquote control that, I only downloaded it on my phone so that my kids weren't just doing that.
Right.
So they would have to do the
learned.
homework and they would actually do the work. And then they would come to me and say, I can't figure this out. And so I would download it and then just scan it and then walk it through them. So there's easy fixes that have to happen and that can be there. But it's a hit or miss. But technology can definitely help you with some free tools there as well.
I like that. And I like thinking outside the box for it. And, we've talked a little bit about community and the role that it helps. For those who seemed overwhelmed by that, though, how do you create a community? Whether maybe if this is your first kid or you're new to the area and you know that community matters, but
you're new and it's hard.
New, or this just doesn't come naturally to you. What are your suggestions?
It seems, especially if you're introverted, I know people are going to scream when I say this. But you have to go to events.
Yeah.
You have to show up. You've got to show up. I know people are like, I'm just praying for a husband. I'm like, girl, you haven't been out to get one. But okay, good luck. Maybe the mechanic you call over to fix your furnace will be the one. But
I feel really called out right now.
I'm so sorry. But you have to show up. You have to go and you have to be there. And thankfully, showing up can be finding the Facebook page of the neighborhood group. I didn't realize there's so many neighborhood groups. Next door neighbor or find my neighbor. I mean, I think they can kind of get messy in the conversations, but you can bring the conversation back and then just ask around. Does anybody have somebody that can help with English? My daughter is in, 10th grade LA or, just you have to get out and show up. And it's scary. It is because you're the new person. But I think humanity's not all lost. And so we want to help each other.
Yeah.
But you do have to get out and show up and be available and vulnerable.
Show up and build that community, even if it means going and meeting your neighbors, joining the Facebook groups, and spending more time at parent-teacher conferences. Michelle mentioned that there are great online resources that can help too, free videos and tutorials that can help supplement school learning for subjects that kids might struggle with. All in all, you don't have to be a one-stop shop for your child's educational needs outside of school. Keep asking around. And Michelle pointed out that this can be really useful even for kids who aren't struggling with a particular subject. In fact, there are plenty of kids who underperform in school because they haven't found a challenge. Getting out of the house and hunting down resources in the neighborhood could make all the difference.
right now I am seeing this within students. I would have lost one of my, kids if they did not jump through hoops. You have the good student that just does the paper and does it and just goes through it. But my child is gifted out the wazoo and knew that those hoops were just a waste of time and why am I doing it?
And spent more time arguing with you about why you should have to do it than it would have taken just to do it. And the system,
and
oh
I'm
my
like,
gosh, I had one of
sis,
those
I'm
too.
literally in the system. I know. But just
You're trying to tell me about the system?
I know, but I can't change it. No one has called me for me to be the Secretary of Education. I did a whole TED Talk. No one is calling me. But,
they should.
However, and so I had to find what lit my child up. And I'm so grateful I did because it's, it saved it. So there's dual language schools out there.
What is it that lit
engineering.
You? Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Engineering. And so thankfully there was a J-Prep program out there that kind of had a summer program, which summer school, for 6 weeks, she got up, didn't complain, got on me if I was late because it started at 8 a.m. and loved it. And that lit the spark to, okay, you have to do this, this, and this. And then your sophomore year, which she's now at, could go into the college and do the early learning programs, right? And so you have to find that path. It takes going to places and it takes work.
There's one more positive side effect to building this community around your child that Michelle pointed out to me. Do you know that thing that happens when you're trying to give your children your hardest won life advice and their eyes immediately start to glaze? Or even better, your child says, "Guess what so-and-so told me?" and then repeats back words of wisdom that you've said verbatim because someone else said it. Now they're paying attention. Just me? Okay, great, cool. Well, if you do know that feeling, you know that sometimes what your kid really needs to hear to find motivation academically can't come from you as the parent. Don't get me wrong, your advice is good. They just can't hear it. Finding ways to involve your kids with education outside your home and outside regular school can help them absorb that real world wisdom they really need.
Taking advantage of the Saturday activities that the universities put on. There was an engineering day at one of our local universities, and I knew my kiddo was interested in it. And I said, let's drive up there. It's, we got to get up and let's do it. And I was so glad that I did because we learned about what was offering at the college and, the competition out there and what was needed and kind of planting that seed that I wouldn't have been able to share with my child. I wouldn't have been able to say, oh, you really need to work on your grades or work on, activities outside of your grades so that you can get scholarships by a dean that said it in 5 minutes and impressing my child. Now it's in there. And so you really do need the support of outside experts.
Call in reinforcements. Get out in the community. Build it if you have to. That's the first huge tip for helping your child to succeed in school. But there are still a few things that make a difference within the walls of your home. Michelle's next big tip is something that is near and dear to my heart.
The two things that I know parents who aren't educators could do is to read with their kids and have conversations with their kids. Those two things are so important. And I don't care how old your kids get. I have an audiobook that I just grabbed from the Libby, the library free app that I'm going to listen to with my two teenagers. One's a sophomore and one's in 7th grade. I'm still reading to and with my kids and just setting that modeling. I'm telling them, oh, this is the book that I'm reading. And I, tell them about the book I'm reading. So having that reading culture is so important in the home is the biggest thing, just reading and the conversations with kids.
Yeah, I think that's so great because it's so doable.
Yes.
Especially now, you can use technology in order to encourage that.
We drive them around. We are their personal Ubers. And so together we're going to listen to this story. We are going to listen to an audiobook and talk about it. And we've listened to some great audiobooks. I found two. My kiddo, she does ballet. And so I found two great audiobooks. One with Michaela de Prince. She had passed away and she was a ballerina last year passed away. And so I said, I want to learn more about her, and we learned that she was a refugee from a war-torn country. And then that gives discussion of just trauma. And so it just was a really good story. And at first my daughter was like, oh, I just want to listen to music. Oh my gosh, Mom, I want to put my headphones in. But listening to that book, I think changed both of us. And it was like one of those things, as soon as we got in the car, I'm like, are you ready? Next chapter, it promotes some good thinking.
I absolutely love this advice, and especially that it isn't just for young kids who are learning to read. My own mother was an elementary school teacher and storyteller, so she read us poetry, a variety of children's books, and novels when we got older, even Nancy Drew. It was a huge part of my family culture and continues to be. My brothers and sisters and I talk about what we're reading and what we've read, and it's really benefited me in my life that I can see now as an adult. And even though I taught junior high and high school and had studied the benefits of reading and reading out loud, I really underestimated the power of reading out loud to older kids until I actually did it. You pay attention when something works with teenagers, right? Something that really grabs their attention. And I was surprised to learn that it was reading out loud to them, even for 10 minutes at a time, a book like Freaky Friday or poetry. You're exposing them to a different way of thinking with each new author and a different way of expressing themselves that gets them out of their head. It's really magical. While we're talking teenagers, I had to ask Michelle about independence. My 5 kids are so different. I really didn't anticipate and came to understand through a series of parenting mistakes that most of my children have ADHD. Their attention span for sitting and concentrating is different than mine. 2 children of mine in particular, whose names I don't necessarily want to call out, struggled with turning in assignments, understanding instructions. And the older they got, the harder it was to know, should I be intervening in what ways? They're almost adults, so how much involvement is too much?
When they get to a certain age, there is that opportunity for them to kind of be independent in their learning. But I always encourage parents to still stick behind their kid and ask questions and things like that. So I feel like the barrier of them growing up and you wanting them to be independent can sometimes be a pitfall, because then they get to high school and we want to stop bothering them. Mom, I'm 16, I can do that. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can, but I still have access to all the things that I can see your grades. So if you can do that, why is this grade this? And so they still need that checkup. And you're reminded of that when they do little things, that they're still growing and learning. And so
they still need you
it's in
a different way. And sometimes it can be really awkward.
Yes. And you have to be able to push through that. I think that barrier that parents are kind of doing that dance, it can be hard if you're a working parent to get into the building of the school and really communicate with the teachers to see what's going on. And so thanks to technology, send those emails, and ask those questions. And even if your kid's like, no, don't email my teacher, email the teacher and just see what's going on, because there could be something underlying that's happening in the classroom. And so I know we shouldn't let anything kind of get in the way of checking in with our student and our kid, because we need each other to really get our students and our kids where they need to be.
Absolutely. The last question that I wanted to ask you, there are times when you need to be an advocate for your kid, right? And I think I've noticed this in 2 of my kids. I've had to really be an advocate for them. And it sort of surprised me that no one was watching out. Now, listen. I always say to my kids, this is horrible. Like when my kids are failing all their classes or whatever, I always go, you don't understand. I'm a teacher. I'm on the teacher's side.
Right.
Because I know that they don't go into teaching for the money or to fail you. And I know that it's not that they don't care. There are certain assumptions that I made, but I do know that there is extenuating circumstances without going into the details for what has happened with my kids. But they had kind of fallen through the cracks. COVID, the death of their father, all of these
so many things.
Huge things. I get it. But being an advocate for your kids, when I saw it in a more dramatic way, was different than I thought it was going to be. And so I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how you can be an advocate for your kid in a special circumstances, whether it's a learning disability or an extended family situation, mental illness, whatever it is.
And you need to be that way, because a lot of times, again, the kid won't say anything, or the child will say something, but in different ways, in behavior, right?
In behavior.
So you have to watch those cues as a parent and really be there to just be in communication with the school. There's been circumstances where I've had to advocate for my own child and as well for 2 of my children, and so I think it's just for parents, it's to not let up, right? To not ignore it and think, oh, it'll go away when they get older. If you see signs when they're 3rd grade, 4th grade, address it and start looking at it then, because then if they get to 7th and 8th grade, that's key. Like, so 3rd grade is that reading level. And if you don't see anything, if you see like grades slipping and reading, and, that's where you could advocate. And then if you miss the cusp, that's okay. Let's come back to it. And that's where you just set up those meetings and really just say, I don't think that's the case. Because a lot of times, and it's true, where teachers will be like, well, he's sleeping in class. And so if he would just do da-da-da-da-da, then he would get these grades, right?
Right.
So, again, human to human, that teacher's rubbed the wrong way because your kid's not doing what he or she should be doing. And so they're kind of just like, if I don't touch him, he doesn't growl. So that's where we are in this relationship. So then it's kind of like, okay, well, what can we do? Because this is not what I've taught my child. And I think more conversations within the parent-teacher relationship will definitely help. Don't take no for an answer, but then also be respectful as you're navigating it. Because you might get a no the first 3 times, but always talk to the teacher first. Always go to the teacher first, unless something huge has happened. Involve the principal, let the principal know this, and just keep that communication going and just say, I just don't think that's the case. There has to be more. There was a misdiagnosis on my child, which I said, later she was gifted, right? And so there's things that look like one thing, and because we're humans trying to figure it out, oh, we misdiagnosed her, and so you go to the doctor and you figure things out, and you just don't stop asking your child. It always go back. How did you feel today at school? Did you feel like you could get the work done? How are you feeling like you have enough sleep? And just talk to your child. Do you feel like you're paying attention in class? Do you understand what the teacher is saying? And at the last rate, my kids hate it. Go to the class and watch.
Yeah.
You're allowed in the classroom as parents. You make an appointment, you schedule the time, and just observe or go help at the party so you can truly see the measure. Because sometimes I walked into class and I'm like, oh, she's got 10 boys and 3 girls. There's the problem right there,
Right.
So there's always an answer to certain things, and your kids don't like it, but they kind of like it. Go in the classroom and just watch for a little bit and see what's happening to help you make that. And again, I don't know that people can't always get off of work to do that, but really talk to your child and don't assume that they're doing fine. And don't go with, do you have any homework? And the answer is no.
That is the most
because they most likely didn't.
Do you have any homework? Did you do it?
I did my homework.
We got to ask better questions. We got to be like, bring up the grade.
Oh, I still go through my 16-year-old's backpack. Still.
I love it.
And I'll just go through it and be like, why is this paper empty?
Yeah.
Completely blank. Looks like you had to fill that out.
Did you hand it in? I said that was the last question, but this really is
fine.
the question. Every
2.
parent has that thing where it's like, oh, the teacher just hasn't put in the grades yet,
Oh
Mom.
my gosh, that's so funny. I love those reels.
It's a joke. And I always say to my kids, I again, was a teacher.
Well, and most times they are on top of it for themselves. And a lot of them are virtual assignments where it's like automatically graded in Canvas. So short of it being like a big end of term project, lies all around because the grass is blue.
I've been vindicated.
And here's what I do. Oh my gosh. When my child, I'm like, why are there 5 assignments and you have an F on these 5 assignments? Oh, I don't know. I turned it in and I hadn't graded it yet. Oh, for real? Dear Miss Chemistry Teacher.
That's what I said. I
noticed that Chick does not have 5 assignments. Can you let me know if there's anything I need to do on my end? All the time I get an email back. Well, she's had 3 papers and I gave her an extra copy.
Yeah.
And I just look at
What
my...
more do you want from me? Yeah.
And so it... literally 90% of the time, I've never gotten an email back from the teacher that says, yeah, girl, I have not graded anything.
Yeah, I'm really behind. You're right. My bad.
Yeah. I've never. One time I did, and that was like, I'm so sorry, my mother passed away. And I was like, never mind.
Then you're good.
Yes,
you're good.
You don't have to grade anything ever. All A's.
Yep. Yep.
90% of the time, it's because my child just didn't do the work.
I just feel like that this part of the podcast is what parents will play for their children.
Yes.
I just really
an educator
I'm
said
hoping
it, and
for
a
it.
mother has
And a
seen.
mother. We're on to you.
The
We've got 10
lies you
kids
tell
between
me.
us. Yeah, lies. They're lies.
I mean, and maybe if it was due on Thursday and it's a Monday,
Yeah.
sure.
Sure.
But 2 weeks after the assignment, email the teacher, parents. All children lie. I think I did as a principal. One of my first assemblies when I first became a principal, I said, I love your children. I also
They're the
am
future.
recognizing
They're
the
beautiful."
future. Whitney Houston sings it. But I do recognize that all children lie. Some lie better than others. Some lie more than others. And if you believe half of what they tell you when they go home, I'll believe half of what they tell us about your home and our school. Yeah. There's a lot of conversation, and it's just, communication is important along with the education and having those crucial conversations with all parties involved. And at the end of the day, I go back to what I wish everyone knew. I wish they would know when they walk into the school how well those students are loved, how well those students are taken care of. It doesn't matter how much a school has, but, you walk in and you can feel the lengths that the people will go for those students. And so I just wish everyone would know that the students there are loved, and it's not with any other intent, but just to make humanity better.
I'm so grateful to Michelle for sharing this wisdom from the trenches and behind the scenes in education. As parents, we're not alone. There are resources out there for the taking, and our neighbors are more willing than we'd think to lend a hand if it means helping our kids succeed. And thank goodness, because sometimes it takes an outside mentor to say the thing that helps them master what they're learning in school and value the experience, even if you've already said all those same things. Load up on some audiobooks, read together. And in the situations when you have to be an advocate, it's so helpful to know that first, teachers aren't believing everything they hear, in the same way that you don't necessarily believe it when your child says their science packets just haven't been graded yet. And second, you don't have to worry that you're checking in too much. That communication and giving each other the benefit of the doubt is how we can be a village that helps our kids get the most out of their education.
The Lisa Show is a production of BYU Radio, hosted by Lisa Valentine Clark. This episode was produced by Becca Hurley, with help from Erica Price, Blake Morse, and Kenny Mears, with music and post-production by Gracie Davis. Michelle Loveday is currently the director of the Language and Cultural Services Department, and is the director and founder of Rise Academy, and co-founder of UROR. Links to her works and to our newsletter will be in our show notes. Also, be sure to check out the Council of Moms, available now wherever you get your podcasts. As always, thanks for your messages. We read them all, and thanks for listening.
There's another podcast you might like from the BYU Radio family of podcasts, In Good Faith. Join Stephen Cat Perry as he connects with believers from various religions, Christians, Buddhists, Jews, Muslims, and more. Through their captivating stories, deepen your understanding of faith, religion, and spirituality. Stephen's global perspective, cultivated through extensive travel, brings a really unique richness to each conversation. Elevate your appreciation for the divine. In Good Faith, an inspiring journey of unity and enlightenment. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.